Welcome, everyone. I have a special guest with me today. As me, Brittnei C. from Write the Vision Plainly, and one part of Lady Grant Scribes. This our special guest that we have today is Noura from Noura's Books. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. How are you, Brittany? Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I'm doing great. Just taking it all in for today. But I wanted to I wanted to ask you some questions about, I know you're an accountant and I know you do the bookkeeping for nonprofit organizations. So I wanted to ask you a few questions based on that. So just jumping right in, like no delay, just
Mhm.
just jumping right in. Um, just jumping right in. What do you do and how do you help nonprofit organizations?
So for nonprofit organization, what I do, I do help startups, I do help like mid-size and larger size nonprofits. So each size of our organization, they need different services. Um, let's start with a startup. Like we would be like someone who's thinking like, I want to do the schools, I want to establish an organization, and then they would come to me and try to, register it. So we register it in the state, we register it in the federal level, and apply for the nonprofit and the tax exempt status. And then we go from there. And I help them also set up the accounting system, the donor management system. Um, it can be one-off service, and also it can be a monthly service. So I have also an operational support that's for people who are starting in. And then like if the nonprofit in the next level and they're ready for bookkeeping, I can also like get their bookkeeping. And then some of them are ready for, they want to do budgeting. So
Hmm.
I do the budget. Some of them like they need grants management. We do grant management, and it's very unique for nonprofits like to do bookkeeping. It's not really unique, like it's similar than any other bookkeeping, except you
Mhm.
need to be extra careful because you have to like there's unrestricted donations and restricted donations. You want to make sure like everything recorded correctly for the funder if there is like a grant, and also like if there is a campaign, I can help with the campaign as well, like building campaigns and do all of that. But when the accounting side of it is just, you need to have everything spent the way you said, you told your donors that you're going to spend your money with. So that's a special area, and you need to be careful on that. And I help my organization like select a donor management system and help them build it and manage it. So it depends really on what do they need now. If they need to do KPIs, like kind of CFO services, like some of organizations, they already have someone who does the bookkeeping, so they don't need that. They're all set. I can just come in as a CFO and partner with them. We will have like weekly meeting and set up budgets, measure KPIs and see what they need, like set goals and make sure we stick to them. So I provide support in different levels. Also, like some nonprofits, they need like different kind of services, special services like we talk. And if I can help them with that, I definitely help them, because everything somehow connected to finances. And I have worked with
Right.
nonprofits actually in different level, program as a program director, as operational and development director, and in the finance side also. And also the a lot of organizations comes asking, okay, we need grants. I'm like, okay, I don't do the grants itself, but I can get you ready to do that, especially from the finance prospect of it. But I can connect them to resources. So if they need grants, like I would connect them to you, for example, or like if there's a special thing area they're looking for, I have a lot of resources like I can connect people with. I like to connect people together so we can achieve like the best result and help building the better community for us all.
That yeah, and that's good. I was a lot of what you were saying, I was just like, when you said the bookkeeping, how it's important and how they, keeping up with the budget and the finances are important, I was like, huh, this sounds a lot like grant writing because that's what I do as a consultant. That's
Mhm,
one part of what I do as a consultant. Because when we do it on the grant side, we have to make sure all the ducks are lined in a row.
mhm,
Nothing's missing. If something's missing, it has to be an explanation for why it's missing. It just can't, we just can't say, oh, just because it cut, just because it is. It's
mhm.
missing because it is. The funder is like, no, why is that missing? So that's great. That's good to know because a lot of I know a lot of people when they see grant writers are like, ah, that's a fee. And then it's just like when they get to you or the accounting side, ah, that's another fee, all these fees. No, I'm good without it. But it's like, no, that's not how this should go. So are you able to tell me what the consequences are for not taking care of bookkeeping?
So that will lead to a lot of consequences. The most common is losing your nonprofit tax exempt status because
Ooh.
the requirement is to keep your record, especially the financials. So, um, you can get audited for that, and then if you're not reporting the correct thing on your 990, then well, you might lose it. And also, it's going to be hard for your accountant um, to do the 990 without proper accounting. You're not going to be able to spend the money the way you promised your donor to do. So it's like it's ethical and it's from government, from IRS. Like you could lose your tax exempt status. And this is another thing. Actually, I do help people with doing the tax at the end of the year, that if you don't have good bookkeeping, then it's really, really hard. It's going to cost you much more at the end of the year, and it's not gonna be as accurate as you want to have. And you want to make sure you keep the receipts. You want to make sure, like, if an auditor came and say, okay, give me this money, because this is the people money, so you want to make sure like you spend it correctly. And the government, they want to make sure you're spending correctly, otherwise you will lose your status. So they will come, they will need a backup for everything. You need to keep a lot of paper. Like if you have a good bookkeeping system that goes well with the organization size, you will have a system where you have if need a journal entry or paying invoice, you will have everything attached to that, so you don't need to go dig into the paper, or like trying to find something like from whatever, like 3 years ago. You don't know where did you put it, or maybe it's in the garbage, you cannot retrieve anymore. So if you have everything in place, it will make the audit goes like very smoothly. It's gonna cost you a lot less. The tax return will be done like very quickly, cost you less. So like it saves you money down the road and headache. Because if you got audited and you don't have your stuff, it's going to take longer, and then you might be able to resolve the things and not lose your status, sometimes, but it's still gonna cost you a lot of money to do that.
Yeah, because and that's understandable. That's kind of like for let's just say 11 months out of the fiscal year, you're just spending, it's all good, and then like or 10 months rather, and then on the 11th month, we got 2 months to get this together. You won't be prepared, and then it's just like even if you do crunch some numbers and pull it off, you could be short thousands of dollars, you could be short hundreds of dollars, like you just never know. But
Mhm,
you're right, when you keep track of it from like the first time you spend the first receipt until the end of the year, the numbers are exacting. If you're off by like a couple cents, I believe they'll say, okay, well, they're off by this per receipt, but I see where they sent me like the documents, so we're good.
mhm.
But but yeah, this is why bookkeeping is important. This is why I know when we get to like especially small business, we we like to, like, when we're starting off, we like to save as much money as possible, but sometimes, unless you yourself took the classes, if you like registered by the state, the what is it, certified public accountant, if you feel like you're up to that task by doing it yourself, then okay, by all means. But let a professional who's educated, who has a lot more years under their belt, just tell you what to do, and they can easily spot the mistakes, like, oh yeah, yeah, no, this is good, this is good, nope, correct that, all right, this is good, we're gonna add this, take this away. So be mindful, guys.
Yeah, and you want to think about this investment. It's not really an expense because this is very important. It will save you a lot of money later. And also, like, if someone just starting the organization, I offer training for that. So if you want to do bookkeeping, I offer training. I set you up with the system, and then you're ready to go. If you feel later on, at least you have the system, at least you have your transaction in, and I'll show you the know-how just to start, to make sure like you are set until you are ready to hire a monthly service for that. That's an option too, because I understand, like, at the beginning maybe you don't have the cash for that, or but you want to make sure at least you're doing the minimum to be able to grow, because you won't be able to grow. And you see, like, from a grand side, if you don't really report good financials, you will lose the installment, because they don't always give you all the money at once. They want you to report period by period, either they're like 3 payments or whatever. It depends on the situation. So it's really important to get the habit, so you can be ready, grant ready, that you see like you are grant ready.
That's true, because that's the other thing. You don't want to be underprepared, ill prepared, or you think it's the right way and it's not, and then you're doing all this work and it's for no reason at all. So yeah, that's a good thing. So I hope you guys are out with your notebook, taking notes, jotting down what myself and Noura are saying, because we're saving you from from that audit. Like, I know we kind of, like, on Lady Grant Scribes, our podcast, we joke around, but we're serious and I especially say that, like, hey, if you get arrested because you got audited, that's when I'm gonna visit you. Like, so you didn't do what you didn't do the bookkeeping, right? Okay. All right, I'll see you next week. Because although that's hilarious, there's also some truth to that. Like, you can't mismanage money and think there are no consequences behind that.
Mhm.
You know,
Totally. Especially, I've seen a lot of nonprofits. They tend to hire people they don't know if they're independent contractor. They just like, okay, it's cheaper to do independent contractor, but sometimes the requirement is just to have them as an employee. So
that's also true. There's some truth to that. Like, I'm an independent contractor, and I say up front, I do the grants management side. I know how to do a great budget sheet. I'm not an accountant. So get an accountant, get a bookkeeper, get someone that you can trust with the financial side. Because if I'm accurate, but if I'm 1 cent off, that accountant is going to see that. Okay, well, this is 1 cent off. Where's the receipt saying that? Okay, I see this, and this is together, but this is not. So, although I do as much as I can on my side of grant things, because that, like I said, that's another thing that a part of my consulting service that's included in mine, just making sure your budget sheet is correct. I'm not an accountant, but luckily you are. So that's why, I'm glad we've collaborated in doing this interview, because people need to know, like, there's different steps, there's different strategies. We want your nonprofit to be the best it can, and sometimes it does cost. Other times, we can kind of work around your budget. Like, if we're telling you our monthly fee or our prices, and you're like, ooh, that's a little steep, we can, we can work around that for you.
Yeah,
We can work
definitely.
around it. So next question. Is bookkeeping for nonprofits different from bookkeeping in business?
Yeah, so it is yes and no at the same time. So bookkeeping is bookkeeping, accounting is accounting, but there are some requirements you have to do. Like I said, like if you have different funders, you have to make sure that to report different separately for them to make sure you match the budget, you allocate the budget correctly in terms of that side. Plus, there's something required from the IRS. You have to report for each grant, for not each program alone. So
Yes.
if you have like different programs, you cannot just say, oh, this is how much we spent in programs in general. You have to
Right.
separate. That's a requirement, and that could be a reason for you to lose your status. I created an ebook for that, just like 3 pages to say like what should you do to keep your status? Because I've seen a lot of organizations lost their exempt status just for simple things. Sometimes, like if you, okay, yes, you are non-exempt, but you still treated the same thing if you have an employee. So if you have an employee, you're still required to do payroll taxes, you still have to do the withholding. And the payroll taxes is the same exact thing in any business, nonprofit, anything. And it's really most important of anything, because this is a trust money from your employee trusted you to hold that and to pay that to the government so they can benefit from that in the future when they retire. So IRS do not negotiate that. And if they would go after the person who is responsible to withholding, if they didn't pay it, they would go after that person personally, not only after the organization. Let's say someone was responsible for that, and then they decided not to, and they didn't have the money, or so they decided to leave, but they were responsible for that payroll withholding and payments in certain, in a specific time. And if that specific time they did not take care of those payments and they just left the organization working somewhere else, now the IRS could still go after their personnel, after them personally, even the bookkeeper. Like if I'm responsible for anyone payrolls and they're just not paying their taxes, they can come after me. They can come after my assets. It's really really scary if you come to that point. So that's, everyone is the same, nonprofit, for profit, anyone who has an employee. So that's part, like everyone has to pay this taxes, everyone has to file taxes, everyone has to keep the same record, profit and loss statements. But the only difference is just businesses, they have to do estimated taxes, nonprofit don't. Their taxes are informational, but only, so everything fits into bookkeeping, because everything has to be recorded. So that in general it's the same, but it's just like more requirements. You have to see the rules, you have to make sure board members, for example, because as someone who has the books, you want to make sure like you're doing correct things and you are aligned with the IRS requirements. So if you see like a board member who's getting paid and that just for being board member, you should say, oh, okay, hey, you cannot do that. what's going on? So you should take care and advise your client, because I noticed that, well, no, I know it's the truth. Like no one knows what you do as professional, because you went for school with, you have experience, they have experience in something else, so you are responsible to advise them. So having an accountant in board, it's really important, and it's not a luxury thing. We saw last year, like during COVID and everything, like there is a daily change in regulation with the IRS, and if it's not your full-time job, you're not going to keep up with it. So, and yeah, a lot of things need research, and if you're doing your programs, you're doing a lot of work running your organization, you're not going to have time to look into that. You have to have someone who can advise you on that and let you know what's going on, so you can stay in compliance.
Yeah, that's really good. And I like what you said earlier about like basically you're a one-stop shop. You do the taxes, you make sure their status is great. I believe you do the status.
Mhm,
You do their taxes, you make sure that even if they're not grant ready, you help with that. I do that as well, but it's just great to have like those resources because that's another thing that for a business it's good to have more than one task that you do, so starting off you're not breaking even in your business because you're like, oh, accountant here, grant writer here, tax
mhm,
consultant here, and then I need someone to make sure like to double check what I already know to be true about my company. I gotta go get them. So it's nice that you're a one-stop shop to where you're saying like, yeah, I can do all this for you for one fee, for one monthly fee, and they don't have to worry about like going from place to place or person to person to like find out what exactly what it is that they need.
mhm,
And then and I also like how you explain that it's a slight difference between bookkeeping for the nonprofit organization versus for the business, because even nonprofits have like they employ they hire employees, and there are some businesses that not to say that they don't have employees, but there are some businesses who are like general partnerships where they don't have employees, they work with each other, and whoever is the shareholder of that general partnership who invests the most, then they kind of like, although they're a corporation, a business, it might be five of them that work for themselves and each other.
mhm.
So that's a good thing to know. That's a good thing to keep in mind. So my next question is, can a nonprofit lose the tax exempt status? Actually, you know what? I believe you said that already.
Yeah, actually, yes. Yeah, they do lose it, and for multiple reasons. One of the reason I didn't mention that they could lose their status is doing UBI, unrelated business income. So like, yes, nonprofit is not tax exempt just for something that they are doing related to their mission. But if they're doing business that's unrelated to their status, then they might lose if they're doing consistently that business consistently and they making money out of it. They might lose the status because now they are for profit. They can still, like for community center, for example, like they have non-for-profit stuff activities, but they can rent a place. This is a separate, they have to pay money for it. But if they're doing other business that's not separated and not related to their mission, they can lose their status. So that's one of the other that's one of the reasons. And if they don't file for three consecutive years,
Mhm.
they did not file taxes, they can lose their status. That's the most common. Yeah, so multiple
And
reason. If the people they need more information, they can download my ebook. It gives them the reason they can lose it and what record they have to keep in order to help them maintain that status,
you
because
did
they
that.
will have to go through the process again if they lose it.
Yep.
They can still reinstate it, but they why lose it from the same at the same, they have to pay their fees. I offer the service, but it's just like expensive to do it again.
Yeah, because like if you, especially if you're starting off, you didn't have that much money before you started this, and now you really don't have anything because you lost it and have to start again. So
Mhm.
that is very understandable. And I will be down below at any time, guys, you can download her ebook. I will put it in the description post below just so you all can have that, and just look into it for your business, for your nonprofit. If even if on the novice level you're thinking about starting it, it's good information to have so you're not out here spending all this money and trying to get it back but have no clue how to do that, or just setting yourself up for failure before you really have a chance to actually get started. So yeah.
Yeah, and
So
this
oh,
ebook
go
is
ahead.
free. I'm sorry. It is free and it is illustrated in a way like you can just like put it on the wall or somewhere to look at it. It's so easy and it looks nice, illustrated nicely, so you can
It's
just take all
beautiful.
things.
It's beautiful because I read through your ebook and it's very informative. It's to the point. It lets them know what to do and what not to do. So from someone who has it, guys, from someone who has it, take my word for it. Download it for yourself. Get that information. Like I said, this could be anyone starting out. You're established. Maybe you're in your first year, first 6 months. This is a comprehensive ebook for everybody. So definitely download it. um so my next question is, what taxes should a nonprofit be worried about? Although, because that's kind of like a contradiction because it's a 501c3 tax exempt status.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like I said, it's the end of the year. There's an information return. Just like, sometimes Schedule C filer,
Mhm.
it's, they don't, no, not Schedule C, I'm sorry. Well, delete that. No, I'm just kidding. So no, if you have an S corp or business that not required to do tax return, like their shareholders or who are the ones who to do the tax return, they it's information return. So 990 is an information return, and there's like different type of 990s. There's the anchor, there's the easy, and there's the long one, and it depends on the organization and how much they make. That's what determine which one they would do. This is once a year, and this is usually due the 15th of the fifth month of the 15th of the fifth month after their physical year ending. So let's say they are not in the physical year, they're on the calendar year. So that is May 15th. And to know when is your year, usually that's in the determination letter. It says like when is your, if you're using the calendar year or fiscal year. So that's one thing. The other thing is if you're doing any business that's not related, it's just like you have to pay taxes for. And there is another thing is the payroll taxes, that's quarterly and annual payroll taxes. So this is pretty much most common taxes.
Mhm. Good. You hear that? Good.
Okay.
Okay. And my last question is, can a nonprofit pay its board members?
So for being a board member, no, but there's a situations like where you are a board member, but at the same time, you are hired by the board to be the executive director. This is the most common.
Mhm.
So you can be that board member, not for being a board member, but for being the executive director. And it has to be fair. Like if you were hire someone like outside and you want to hire them to be an executive director, you would pay them that much money. So you can hire one of the board member to be that. So
Mhm.
so as a board member, no, but as doing something else a service that you would hire someone else, that is, yes, okay, you can pay as a salary.
Okay, awesome. Well, that that brings us to the end of our questions, and I appreciate you for taking the time, Nora, to come and um to be a participant in this interview. Where can my audience, where can they find you?
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Brittney. So I can be contacted at Noura at nourasbooks.com. I'm on all social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, Instagram. And also I come up with YouTube every day. Not every day, I wish, not there yet.
Right?
A YouTube video every week. Sometimes it would be talking to other people like yourself, like we did last week. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's just like a video like I come up with, talking about any subject that, interesting to nonprofit or a business owner, or sometimes in individual level and tax returns and stuff. So like I would love if you guys subscribe, and you can contact me at there. Like I have all link on my website, nourasbooks.com. That's nourabooks.com. All the links there. You can also schedule a free consultation with me over there. You can sign up for the email list I have. I send an email every week. I'm going to be coming up with some promotions for different things in the next, until the end of the year, like, Black Friday and so on. So you can.
Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, all that. Well,
Yeah.
Black Friday is like for the Thanksgiving technically, because it's Thanksgiving on that Thursday and then Black Friday right after that. So yeah.
Yeah, so I'm working about on a deal, and I'll be sending that on to my email list. I will be sharing that on my social media. So yeah, you can contact me on that and set an appointment. We can talk, do free consultation. You can send me an email, and also you can contact me on the phone number. That's 832-598-6542.
Okay, excellent. And I'll also leave my handles. And for those who are, still getting to know me, as I say, I'm Brittnei C. I am the certified lead consultant, grant writer, principal, CEO of Write the Vision Plainly LLC, which is a faith-based company, but I'm not exclusive to only helping the faith-based community with grants. That's anyone, regardless of project, sexual orientation, whatever the case is. I'm just here to write the grant for you for your project, whatever you need funding for. I consult. I don't think I mentioned this whenever you interviewed us for Lady Grant Scribes last week, like you mentioned. And if you haven't seen that interview, go check it out. It's on Nora's YouTube, it's on mine as well, but check out that interview. I do consulting, and I also, like, for startup nonprofits, if they don't have their documents that they need to position themselves to get a grant. Like, I was working with one organization where they didn't have a LOI, they didn't have an abstract, they didn't have those documents that are kind of like templates, copy paste, where they need to position themselves to get grants. I do that as well. With my packages, with the packages, I have a basic package, like if you're already established, and one that if you if you're just starting off. I also have an hourly rate. I do this, I formulate this to fit your budget. And if it's still, if I work with you, if you're like, this is still out of my budget, well, we have Lady Grant Scribes that we give you step by steps on how to become a grant writer, like at the novice level. Just you maybe Google search grant writing and you're like, I want to do that. that's what I do, not only for Write the Vision Plainly, but Lady Grant Scribes as well. So we really take those who want to know more about grant writing. You like provide you a grant education, provide you with coaching. That's what I do. We actually take you through a training process on what we do. We also have our workshop, accelerated grant workshop, which is going to be out on November 18th of 21 at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. It will be online. More details are coming soon. Also, like to get your ticket now, you can register to pay it in full on Eventbrite. And if you want to work out a payment plan, just email us at Lady Grant Scribes for that. Also for my personal Write the Vision Plainly, everything, my email, my social media, everything is WTVP or Write the Vision Plainly LLC. So that's my Instagram, my Facebook, my LinkedIn, and all of that will be in a description post below. And I'll also put my phone number in there as well. I do have a YouTube channel dedicated to grants and what we do. I have snippets of our podcast if you want to watch full episodes. We are wherever you listen to podcasts. Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Breaker, all of them. So yeah, just contact us wherever we are. Contact Lady Grant Scribes, contact Alexis Williams with Grants by Alexi, contact her, and all that information will be in the description post. And so will for Noura and her business, her company, all of that will be in the description post below as well. So yeah, guys, just I'm glad you from the accounting side, because I know the grant side very, very well as a consultant. So I know, I'm glad like we collaborated, we partnered, we had this interview, because a lot of people maybe know one aspect and not the other, or although our jobs are similar into helping you get, or helping our audience rather, to get to where they're trying to go, although our jobs are similar, but they're different from based on our skill set.
Mhm.
Just like you have to have certain documents and receipts and everything going forward to help with the bookkeeping, I still have to have documentation. Who's your organization? How long have you been established? Kind of like yourself. What do you do? How long have you been established? What did you spend money on? How long ago was that? So it's these questions that get us to know you and your company better, and also it gives us a way to make sure you get the best out of us, because we spent years honing our craft, guys. So we can be able to let you know that we know what we're talking about.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Yeah, definitely. And with grants, also, you always have to be knowing what's out there. It's always something new, like how can you get people funded? And if they are doing good job and their financial side, then you are stronger. Your application is stronger. Okay, you're confident they can deliver, so you can get those funded. So
that's
yeah, it's
true.
everything connected together, and you cannot do one without the other.
You really can't. And it's one of those things. If you think you can't, no, you have to get a professional at some point. And I suggest, like, if you're a nonprofit and you need a grant writer and you can't afford one, put out a volunteer, or like you'll train that person, you'll give them grant training so they can help you, and you will be teaching them your system, your structure, how to do it. And that's a win-win. You are getting a grant consultant in training, if you will. You are getting them to come to help you out, just like an accountant. Like if you know you can't afford one, there's, make volunteer options available so you can train them and teach them what they know. Or if you yourself as an organization, you don't have an accountant, if you can't hire one, maybe you can, you can work out something where they volunteer for you so many hours, or they help you train the volunteer accountant like for so many hours a week. And y'all can negotiate a salary, or negotiate things. This could happen. Just leverage what you have. Partnership, that's exactly what we did. So leverage what you have. It's not always about the money. It's utilizing your resources to the best of your abilities. But don't just throw in a towel because it's just like, what are the fees? I have to pay how much an hour? No, I'm gonna find a way to do this myself, and you could mess it up. So, just a final warning. Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, that's all. I mean, some, like you said, like if they cannot afford it yet, they can be trained. The most important thing is just the collaboration between the nonprofits person and the whoever's gonna be responsible from the bookkeeping with the person, and because we cannot do the work alone. You have to send us the documentation. You have to make sure you communicate well with us, and in order to be able to serve you. So just have someone assigned to this and have someone who has time for it. My experience with a lot of nonprofits, they will go and hire a professional, and then they're not responsive. They don't send what's needed, and you cannot provide service and you cannot get help if you just pay and go. We are not there. We cannot have information. You have to provide us the information. So you get to get the most out of it, have someone who is dedicated for that, like have volunteer, like communicating with person, have some part-time just to dedicate it for that. Or if you don't want to do, you want to do it personally, make sure you set something aside every week just to send the required papers, so we can provide the best service to you. Because our service, we cannot provide a good service without having every single information. Nothing is unimportant, everything is important. We have to have every single details to be able to provide the best service. So
That's
just
true.
make sure to know that's on you. So have someone responsible, and don't, if you end up getting volunteer to do your bookkeeping, if they don't know how to do it, just make sure you do the training. And this is something I said, like I can offer, I can set them up, I can train them how to do it, so at least they can start correct. Because I've seen a lot of people using volunteer for that, who is someone don't know anything about accounting, and they will come up with this, come in, and after a few years, like with all this mess, and to fix it, it's gonna cost a lot of money, more than what if you hired a good service from the beginning. So you want to make sure like that person knows what's doing.
All right. Well, that's it. We gave you a lot of free goodies. We gave you all this information. We have downloads that we have, and of course, I'll be attaching my ebooks. It's a limited time offer. So while it's free, you want to get my ebook, The Guide to the Novice Grant Writer Revised, for those starting off with grant writing, or you want grant coaching, and From Novice Grant Writer to Business Owner, where I take you step by step. Like, that entire ebook is a checklist for everything that you need. And I explain that in great detail. It's a lot. So I separated into sections so you don't get lost, or, it points you in the right direction. But this is everything that I went through in a 90-day period to be a consultant, run my business. I'm certified with the state. I reside in the state of Texas, but I made sure to include the same information that you can use within the states, within the 50 states. And also, unfortunately for international people who may you know, who may get my ebook. I know you don't live in the States, but just still apply that information to head of your state department, wherever it is. So, so yeah, but thanks again, Nora, for uh, thank you again for being my special guest. And, you know, we'll see you in the next video. We'll
Thank you
see
so
you,
much
you
for
know,
having me. Thank you.
this is not over. It's just one of those things where, you know, we gotta go.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Brittney. I'm so happy to cooperate with you. And I'll be, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome, not a problem. But yeah, there, you know, more to come, guys, more to come.